I don't think that's, well, I guess that's where it kind of started, because we did have a third party that wanted to put up a menorah.
Correct. That's where it started back in 2017, and that's why Becky encouraged the HRC to review the matter, is because she didn't want to be the person to make that decision with an absence of a policy.
But wouldn't that be covered by the special event? Isn't that special event permitting or special display
Well,
permitting?
so a special event, that's one day. I mean,
Yeah,
they asked for a whole month for that to be
Okay.
up. So for her, in her eyes, which I think is correct, it's a different request. And so, you know, under this policy, well, under the special event policy, right, you know, or special privilege, they could maybe still ask for like a special privilege or
Okay.
have an event that lasts 28 days or something. But, you know, that's where I think we wanted a policy to give a little bit more direction as far as how staff should handle those requests. But as, I forget who, someone mentioned, I think the number of requests that we're gonna get on that particular item are extremely low for a third party to put decorations or signs. And a lot of times we've already been saying no to a lot of the signs, as Nathan said, unless we have a partnership.
So
I
maybe
think that's good practice.
So, because it's consistent. Well, here are there's a few points I wanted to make. So first about the study, I want to let you know that would be pretty easy to do. I mean, that's just, I have all the contacts to our comparable communities.
so you just,
It's just the same email that goes out to all of them, and we just keep it in a spreadsheet. So that's not gonna suck up a lot of time at all. That's gonna be pretty simple to do. So I can gather that data, and then, you know, it would probably be a discussion that I would recommend then having after the holidays, so people aren't getting that confused, thinking that we're gonna make a decision right before the holiday season. So I would just save it for January, and then we can talk about the research at that point in time. And then we, you know, you as a standing committee can start thinking about, after that research, how, if you wanna move forward with the policy or not. But I think Nathan's reminders is good, that we already have some policy in place, they're just in different places. So I think that's one of the things that you should think about as a standing committee is, you know, do you just wanna formalize that by putting that in one area? The last comment I wanna make is on self-regulation, cause right now we have nothing written as far as how we self-regulate ourselves.
you mean the village, just applicable to the village,
Yeah. So,
but we are bound by. I mean, we are bound by the constraints of constitution.
Oh, right,
yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely, and we, of
We
course,
are.
we were following that right now,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So, but I think, as Nathan pointed out, that's where Christmas trees come into play and the interpretation of what is a Christmas tree. And that's what the HRC ended up focusing some of their time on, but, you know, that's where, if we kind of know where we're at with the village, we can have, you know, the manager and staff be able to figure out, you know, like the spirit of the HRC and what they recommended and move forward with that. And so I just would wanna ask you as a standing committee if that should be something that's written down or not. But we don't have to answer that today. That's something I'll need once we get the research back.
Do you, I guess if you wanna respond, but I also wanna check with Sharon to see if you have any, you came, so I didn't know if you had
Oh,
anything that you
thanks.
wanted to say.
Yeah, well, I sent my letter to everybody, so I think you saw it after the last meeting. I don't know, I guess
actually didn't, but that's,
I dropped it off here. Was it paper only?
I don't
Crazy.
know. Oh, it might be
I
on
have it.
our,
Yeah,
it
I
might
don't know
be
why
on
I
our-
felt like doing paper. I never did a letter to a village
Well-
board before.
I think it might be on our desks.
Yeah, we,
Uh-huh.
A lot of times if we get paper.
Yeah.
there's a copy for, it's still on my desk, but you'll each have it.
Oh, before your next
Yeah.
big meeting.
Yeah.
Oh, out there, your desk.
Yeah,
Okay, well, anyway, I'm just interested in public messages of inclusivity of for cultural background, diverse cultural backgrounds, however you say it. That's my main interest. I feel like it's an opportunity for Shorewood to do that, to do something, to make a statement. So that's my main interest in this whole thing. I mean, the way it was described to me was separation of church and state, which I thought was really simple and easy to understand. So I'm not sure what the confusion is. It's like,
It is,
what
but
is church and what is state? Like, I don't know. I guess that's what I think about the ban. I know seems complicated, sort of, but also,
I don't think it really is, though. I mean, what we have, our recommendation was that secular, that a holiday tree or Christmas tree or a tree or however you wanna call it, right?
Lights on a tree.
Right, lights on a tree, that we should
At
create
Christmas
a new category for that that's different from what the Supreme Court states, or that we should abide by that as far as what is
What is the
not
request?
permitted.
Wait, it's a request.
That's,
yeah.
and so the rest of it's simple.
Yeah,
It's
I don't know,
just,
I
do we
think that's sort
add
of like
that?
a smell test thing, you know, like, is that a Christmas tree or is it not a Christmas tree? I mean, it looks like a Christmas tree. I don't know, I mean, I don't know.
I mean,
We'd have
this
to-
coniferous trees with lights on them are.
I'm
are
all
all
for
Christmas.
like, you know, light in the darkness, hope, peace, joy. I think those are common themes of lots of traditions, even the one that the Christmas tree comes from, you know, the pagan, whatever it is, solstice, I don't know what it is. But I just think it would be cool if we could talk that way and celebrate the holidays that way. I think everyone would feel included. I don't know, I think there still will be Christmas stuff everywhere, I'm sure. Like, I don't think we're gonna not have enough Christmas. But I just wanted our village to make that public display of inclusivity. Because I think we can. I think there's enough people that live in this village who want that. And I think,
What would that look like, though? That's-
I know, I think that's a challenge. Like, I've been emailing with Erica Lang a little bit about the winter fair.
Mhm. And I know
And-
last year for that, there were, a really educational component I wasn't able to attend, I don't know, I've heard
Oh.
some great things about it. That there was a lot of emphasis that was
Yeah.
put on Hanukkah and, a variety of other things, but I don't know if other,
And just as part of that
Celebrations.
event, so that would have been,
Yeah.
that would fall in.
Yeah.
They had a table that had a
Private.
lot of education ties with that.
yeah.
I mean, there was an MJDS, there was a Jewish
Yeah.
stuff table.
But
Yeah.
that's
I
the
didn't know there was a lot
bid,
of
not
other-
the village, like, we don't promote, separation of church and state, like you said. We're not educating the public on Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa,
Right.
other,
Yeah, no, it's just who's putting those images out there, and I know the bid is the most public on it, right? Is that what you're
yeah,
saying?
and they're doing it on private land, so what we decide here has nothing to do with what the bid can or cannot do, because we're talking about public.
Yeah, no, I understand, it's just how do you get those images out there, that was the question, right? And
Oh,
so
yeah.
I talked with her about getting in touch with the art teachers from the schools. Cause I think, like I went to high school conferences last week, and if you look around, I mean, there's a lot of different kinds of people in that gym. You know, it's not it doesn't look like just one tradition
Jewish
there.
and Christian.
Well,
Right, you know what I mean?
well,
like
or
in
just
terms
people of all different kind of cultural backgrounds.
Right.
I mean, I'm kind of new to the school district,
Mhm.
relatively, so like my kids didn't go through the elementary school, so I haven't had as much experience with that. So I don't know what's out there.
Right.
You know, maybe there isn't much. I don't know. Maybe it is
Mhm.
just
Mhm.
a bunch of Jews and stuff, and everyone else is doing Christmas. I don't know.
Mhm. Thank you.
Sorry.
I
that's all
look
have
forward to
say.
reading.
Thank
I look
Thank
forward
you.
to reading your letter.
letter. You know, no, it's not the best letter ever.
Okay.
So the direction I have from the three of you, unless I'm hearing.
I haven't said
Ann
anything
hasn't
yet.
said
Oh, please go, why don't you go ahead before I do my summary?
So I actually had a different take on this based on reading the materials that were provided for us. And I realized that really, because Nathan provided us with he outlines those three codes that we already have, and then some general policy language that would wrap that all up. And for me, it's very clear and it basically covers that. It covers public space. It covers third parties that want to erect signs and symbols and constructions or whatever the other structures, which currently we don't allow anyway. Under that, signs and symbols that can include holiday. And so that I feel like is easy and it's clear. As far as the additional request, and so because of the secular definition, I mean, the village could still put lights on the pine tree at Atwater, even if we adopted this that's before us tonight. or actually it's not before us for consideration, but if we did consider this policy, it doesn't preclude the village from continuing to put lights on that tree. If we wanted to have a separate discussion about lights on that tree or another tree, we could do so after this, we
Is this
decide
board
about this policy.
Is this the village board meeting?
You-
Excuse me for interrupting.
It'll start at 7:30. It's in the courtroom. So if you go right around the corner, you'll see the entrance if you
Thank
take a
you.
right. You're welcome.
So even with this policy, in place, we could still have that conversation and not, you know, and basically, I mean, one thought that I had is because lights are a part of many winter celebrations, you know, if the lights went on at daylight savings and they came off at, you know, St. Patrick's Day, it sort of is more of a light in the darkness, you
Right.
know, kind of thing, and that would be a community discussion that we could have, and there could be some type of acknowledgement or something like that. So I guess I just want to say that I understand all the concerns that were brought up here tonight, but I think ultimately what Nathan provided us for is a very clear, straightforward policy about third parties and public space and erecting signs, symbols, and structures, which currently we don't allow anyway. And the one thing that I would say is it references the Shorewood Farmers Market and Summer Sounds. I would just take that out because I don't know if we'll have those forever, but we could put in general language about village sponsored.
It started to get a little cumbersome, so I thought, you know what the heck, I'm gonna throw them in there.
Yeah.
Or it could be
Just
including but not limited to.
Yeah.
Right,
Just
yeah,
some
something like
flexibility.
that, yeah. So those are my thoughts. I think that it's, fine to check what other, you know, to do that, search
Okay.
and the comparables, and then come back to it in January, comfortable with that.
Okay.
The reason why I spent so much time, last meeting was because there was a specific request in front of us from a citizen committee, and I thought that we owed them the opportunity to, you know, address that request, whether it was yay or nay for this year or defer or whatever. I thought that that was what was important, is to give that consideration.
That was one of the things I wanted to echo because I'm going to be with HRC next week, and I will let them know that, you know, the board decision, it's not that they, you know, necessarily disagree with the policy, but I would frame it, unless you want me to frame it differently, would be that the board wants to take a little bit more time in reviewing this before making a firm, you know, policy decision, and your letter will still be, or position statement is still being incorporated in the discussion. Just so, because I know that there's been expressed concerns about making sure that they don't feel that their opinion wasn't valued or considered.
No,
So,
I would emphasize that
Yeah.
we really appreciate the work they've done, and their work kind of underlies all the discussions we've had. Now, ultimately, it might not exactly reflect what they've put forward, we don't know yet, but they've done a really important piece in terms of bringing all these different issues to light that we can then talk about and try to distill into a policy that makes sense. I mean, we really, the message should be, we really appreciate your work and you've really helped to frame the issues up for us.
And this policy does address what their original recommendation was. You know, it's inclusive of that. The lights on trees is a separate issue because we could still do that by law. That is, we can take that up separately. And
And I like your idea of like, cause I like light when
Yeah.
it's dark all the time is like
Mhm.
something that's what I get attached to. I mean, yeah, we can do it. I mean, we can start in October and then
right, for that matter,
May
right.
the way Wisconsin is, but,
Mhm.
um,
Or it could be November 1st to, you know, April 1st or something like that, and just take holidays kind of out of it. But the other thing too is, and I will caution this group and then also, you know, the board if it comes up again. I mean, I think that part of the reason of having the HRC was to have a body where neighbor to neighbor, new lenses and new perspectives could be entertained and then brought up to the board for consideration. And so if we, you know, I think again, what concerned me last time was uses of words like tolerance and tradition as a reason to not consider, a request. And I think that that's, again, it's fine for us to take more time with the lights on the tree, but I also want to just say that that's why I was, arguing, pushing back last time. But I'm completely comfortable with doing the comparables. I think it's gonna come out to be very similar to this, and then we can take up lights on the tree in a different way. Or at a different,
And,
in a different form.
Yeah, and I agree with that as well, and I think we all really appreciate the work of the HRC, and let's not let semantics confuse the intent of the board here. I understand that I think that, I'll speak for myself. I have heard a lot of arguments about inclusivity, and exclusivity and inclusivity are two very similar but very different concepts here. So my concern was making a big decision out of unnecessary urgency just because there was the holiday season is upon us. And that's the reason I abstained from the vote, because I said that this is not, we don't have the information or the time to make this is a big decision, a big change. And I'm not change averse, and I don't think that this board in general is, just because things have always been done a certain way doesn't mean they have to continue that way, by no means. However, and I will restate this, as I said at the beginning of this meeting, until this discussion that we had this last time, I have not, and again, I have received lots of complaints in this village about a variety of things that we do, that other people do, that, and not a single one about tree lighting or lights on trees at Outwater Park. That doesn't mean it doesn't offend some people potentially, I don't know.
Well, I think that it came through I think now it's just before us to consider.
Right,
I don't
and
think
I,
that
at
there's
this point,
anything
I
else
would,
besides that.
I'd be fine with talking about it in the future or not, but at this point, I would be unwilling to say, no, absolutely,